We are next going to hear from one of our platinum sponsors, and it's an honor for me to introduce Matthew Kinsella, and he is Chief Strategy Officer at Infleqtion. And they're a company that's leading the charge in the development of quantum technologies for real-world applications. I assume you saw, if you did not, they announced their plans a week or so ago to go public in the weeks ahead, and we're super excited for them and wish them well. With a wealth of experience in both the tech and business sectors, Matthew has been at the forefront of shaping Infleqtion's strategy, positioning the company as a key player in the commercialization of quantum innovations. His expertise is aligning cutting-edge research with scalable business models, and this will offer valuable insights into the path forward for quantum industries, bridging the gap between breakthrough science and practical market-ready solutions. Please join me in welcoming Matthew Kinsella.
So I was having dinner with some of the Infleqtion physicists last night. We were at a steak restaurant, and this place is known for its ribeye. And as we were going around the table, I noticed everybody was ordering burgers. And I said, team, what's up? This place is known for its ribeye. Why are you ordering the burgers? And they said, Matt, we're physicists. We're ordering the burgers because we prefer our beef in the ground state. Thank you. Yes, wow. Actually, there's some real laughs there. Thank you. Yeah. The problem is that I'm now out of material. I think I had 3 quantum dad jokes, and the fountain has run dry. And so we are at a crossroads as an industry. We must come together and create more. I've gone through the Reddit threads. There's no more left. Unfortunately, ChatGPT doesn't get it. It can't create jokes. So if you have any good quantum dad jokes, please send them my way, matt@infleqtion.com. Or if you don't have any, please create some, because we need more material. That was truly my last one. All right, I am the warm-up act here today. The main event will be Pranav, our CTO. I'm Matt Kinsella, the CEO of Infleqtion. And I'm going to kind of just walk through some of the basics on Infleqtion, talk through a few of the applications that we're working on, but then we'll bring Pranav out to talk about the exciting results that we announced yesterday. So, to start, our vision is to harness the power of quantum to expand human potential. That's big, it's hairy, it's audacious, it's a little cheesy, perfect for a vision. Our mission, how do we bring that vision to life, is to commercialize neutral atom-based quantum products that provide orders of magnitude improvement in computing and sensing applications. Keywords: commercialize, product, computing, and sensing. We are OGs in neutral atoms. Our founder, Dana Anderson, has been at this for 40 years. He was a professor at CU Boulder, part of several Nobel Prize winning teams that really all led up to the technology that we use in neutral atoms. I first met Dana in 2017 when the company was known as Cold Quanta. Many of you, if you don't know us as Infleqtion, you'll know us as the artist formerly known as Cold Quanta. And Dana had been supplying the industry with some of the quantum cores that you needed to do things in neutral atoms. And when I met Dana, what I saw was the opportunity to build a quantum systems company, a quantum technologies company based off of that core foundational neutral atom technology. And so I first invested in the business in 2018. Before joining the company full-time, I was the first investor, and really took the company from that technological state into initial product development through initial commercialization, and now we're well into the commercialization phase. And again, everything we do is based on neutral atoms, and we believe they are nature's perfect qubits. And there's a lot to like about neutral atoms as a qubit modality. First of all, we don't need to create them. They come to us basically for free from nature. A gift to us, perfect qubits. Each one of these rubidium or cesium atoms is exactly the same, that we just need to turn them into qubits by interacting with them with lasers. Nothing to build. They're very scalable. We can fit hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of these qubits into one of our quantum cores. They have very long coherence times and all-to-all qubit connectivity. So again, a lot to like about qubits, about neutral atoms as qubits. But they are also nature's perfect clocks, nature's perfect RF antenna, as well as nature's perfect inertial sensors. Those same rubidium or cesium atoms inside of those quantum cores can be turned into clocks, RF receivers, and inertial sensors. And again, our mission is to commercialize that technology, and we have products that range that entire suite from computers to clocks to receivers to inertial sensors. And that allows us to be really the only full spectrum quantum company. Again, Scale, our quantum computer, we've sold 3 of those units. Ticker, Skywire, Exact, our sensing products, along with our quantum cores, we've sold hundreds, if not thousands of those, and all tied together with our software known as SuperStack. And in a way, it's interesting to think of it this way. If you look at what do you need for a quantum computer, you need superposition, you need entanglement, and you need ultra cold. Those are really the key building blocks of our Scale quantum computer. Ticker, our quantum clock, takes superposition and turns those atoms into the ticking of a clock. So Ticker gives us superposition. Skywire, how do we build our RF antennas? We put those atoms into the Rydberg state. That's actually how we entangle our atoms in our computer. And then finally, our inertial sensing product, Exact, we supercool those atoms down to almost absolute zero. So superposition plus entanglement plus super cold gives you Scale. So in many ways, our sensing products are the building blocks to our computing product. I mentioned commercialization is our key word. So we are already commercializing across several interesting end markets, including national security. For those of you who came to the panel that I moderated yesterday on quantum and national security, first of all, I'm sorry if you didn't sleep well last night. We talked about some scary stuff, but hopefully quantum will actually really help make the world a safer place from a national security perspective. We sent our quantum gravimeters into space back in 2018 and are working with NASA to send more gravimeters up into space. We are working with the DOE to help stabilize the energy grid and also have a lot of interesting applications in AI, drug discovery, material science, and working with some of the most recognized names out there, including NVIDIA, the Army, Air Force Research Lab, SAIC, NASA, JP Morgan Chase, the list goes on. And let's talk about a couple of the applications that we are working on specifically in national security. And first, let's talk about GPS. Unfortunately, GPS, as we all know, is increasingly prone to spoofing and deniability. And I'm guessing you've heard a lot about that throughout the conference. Even as recent as last week, it was announced that Ursula von der Leyen's plane was hit with a GPS denial attack. This is happening more and more and more. Quantum actually provides a solution. Whereas GPS is becoming increasingly prone to spoofing, QPS, quantum positioning systems, clocks, and sensors with extreme precision can help us continue to navigate in a world where GPS is no longer reliable. So imagine a world in which every plane, every ship, every car with you, your loved ones, your friends, our citizens, our troops, is protected against GPS denial and able to navigate in a world where the seas and the skies just aren't as safe as they once were. Let's talk about another national security use case, and we'll move to RF antennas this time. Did you know that a standard Army Stryker vehicle carries 10 radios for VHF, HF, UHF, SATCOM, etc.? That means more than 10 antennas, a jungle of antennas. And those antennas are increasingly prone to jamming. And this isn't a potential future battlefield risk. This is a now battlefield risk. If you see this, if you go to the Ukraine, Russian forces are jamming Ukraine communications every day. And when the communications go away, the central nervous system of our forces go away. There's no synchronization, there's no communication. You can't call medevacs in when you need them. Quantum, again, provides a solution. Thus far, the classical solution has been add more antennas. Unfortunately, that just adds to the jungle, makes it redundant, but adds to the jungle. Imagine a world where you had a single antenna the size of a sugar cube that could be dynamically tuned to receive the entire electromagnetic spectrum, or better yet, an array of those sugar cube-sized devices where you could have each one tuned to a different part of the electromagnetic spectrum. And those are unjammable and undetectable because they emit no signals themselves. So quantum can provide the RF solution that the battlefield has been waiting for and needs in a stealth and jammable and unjammable way. 2 examples of what we're doing in quantum sensing for national security. As I said, I'm the appetizer, the amuse-bouche. The main dish is about to come up, and Pranav is going to talk about some of the applications that we are doing on our quantum computer. And how are we able to do this? Well, it all comes down to logical qubits. The world got its first logical qubits in 2023, and now a handful of companies, including Infleqtion, have logical qubits. And as we progress to more and more logical qubits, we'll be able to do more and more interesting things with our quantum computers. And again, Pranav's going to come out and talk about the exciting announcements that we made yesterday. Pranav?
Great, thanks, Matt. I first want to share some exciting updates of what we've been up to in Infleqtion quantum computing since Quantum World Congress of last year. First, in December of 2024, we were very excited to announce, in conjunction with NVIDIA, the world's first demonstration of logical qubits solving a material science use case using our scale neutral atom quantum computer. Earlier this year, we announced the delivery, and in fact, the first machine installation at the National Quantum Computing Center in the UK, installing our scale neutral atom quantum computer and coupling it closely with our SuperStack optimizing compiler. Third, this spring we announced ARPA-E's first ever award for quantum computing. This is a $6.2 million contract that ARPA-E has selected us for delivery of quantum solutions for energy grid optimization. And finally, just a couple months ago, we were very excited to announce the $50 million public-private partnership with the state of Illinois that will bring our scale logical qubit machine to Chicago, which is where we've headquartered our quantum computing division. Now, as Matt has alluded to, what we're incredibly excited to unveil today is a next-generation architecture for fault-tolerant quantum computing. We just put out the paper about a day ago, and this architecture is not just a theoretical oddity, but rather something that we've experimentally realized and have actually enabled us to both accelerate our roadmap and extend it so that we now expect to achieve 1,000 logical qubit memories in year 2030. Now, under the hood, what this architecture does is it combines in-place entanglement with reconfigurable atom arrays, and what that allows for is all-to-all connectivity in a design that minimizes error. So rather than getting into the gory technical details, what I'll do is make an analogy to the sea of cubicles in a typical office. And you won't be shocked to know that in this analogy, the employee here represents a qubit. Now, over the last decade or so, there have been two key architectures that have emerged for how to operate this office or how to operate a quantum computer. In architecture number one, which corresponds to superconducting qubits, if we want our employee or qubit to talk to their neighbor, they just do that right in place. They stand up, lean over their desk, have a conversation, and done. And this applies for any of their nearest neighbors, whether it's to their left, behind them, or to the right. So in architecture number one, it's very easy to do nearest neighbor communication. You just have that conversation with your neighbor at work right in place. But the challenge for architecture number one is if we want to talk to a neighbor, or rather a coworker who's down the hall from us, we have to do it through intermediate communication with every employee in between. And by the time our message reaches our intended target, it's been corrupted by all these different hops, and we had to waste the time of all the employees in between, or all the qubits in between. So in architecture one, the upside is nearby communication, the downside is long-distance communication. That brings us to architecture number two, which is symptomatic of most neutral atom and trapped ion architectures until today. And architecture two basically has the reverse scenario. On one hand, if we want to talk to a coworker who's far away down the hall, we can just have both of us stand up, walk over to a conference room in the corner, have that conversation, and then return to their desks. So on one hand, it's very easy to talk to people who are far away, but the problem with architecture two until this week has been that if we want to talk to a neighbor, my next door neighbor at work, it's silly because the only place you're allowed to talk to your neighbor is in this conference room far away. And so architecture number two is inefficient for the 90% of conversations you have at work, which is just your next door neighbor. And that finally brings us to the scale neutral atom architecture that we unveiled this week. In this architecture, we get the best of both worlds. On one hand, if we want to talk to a neighbor right next to us at work, we can do that in place. And on the other hand, if we want to talk to an employee who's far away, they can just walk over to the desk right next to us, instead of having to walk all the way over to a conference room. Now that's the analogy, but the technical details here are that this architecture supports massive atom motion in parallel, as indicated in the visualization on the top right. And this atom motion is a great power that comes with a great responsibility. In particular, the responsibility is that atom motion is a powerful operation, but it's slow. And so in this architecture, we use this atom motion capability very sparingly. What we've achieved with this architecture is 114 qubits in a 224-site array. This is the first machine where we've also shown better than 99.7% user-facing CZ fidelity. And most importantly, what we've shown with this architecture is better logical qubit than physical qubit performance for 3 core applications that are each important steps to the future of quantum computing. The first of these 2 applications essentially correspond to supercharging of logical qubits. On the left-hand side, what we've shown is a technique for instant arithmetic. And specifically what we mean by this is applying something called a CNOT ladder in constant depth or constant runtime with 12 logical qubits. On our system, we've achieved a 4x reduction in error using this approach with logical qubits. And the CNOT ladder is a bit of jargon, but this is actually a primitive that underpins every material science and every chemistry application for quantum computing. And importantly, we've also leveraged software to enable us to climb from error detection to a technique called loss correction. On the right-hand side, what we've done is the world's first demonstration of a newly proposed quantum error correction code called the many hypercube code. And specifically, we've again measured a 4x reduction in error with logical qubits. And this is important because it's a pathway to ultra-compact quantum error correction, where, for instance, we might only need 3.5 physical qubits per logical qubit at very competitive error correction protection distances. The final application that we've demonstrated, and the one that has the broadest societal impact, is the first ever demonstration using logical qubits of Shor's algorithm. And as many of you in this audience may know, Shor's algorithm is probably the most famous quantum algorithm. It's one that can break encryption and almost all public key encryption standards using fast factoring. Now, I want to step back and acknowledge that this is a weighty topic. And the reason that we're doing this is that all of the advances that have been made in quantum computing, whether it's for better material science, better chemistry, better AI, they have an implication, which is that it's also accelerating the timeline for breaking encryption. And rather than try to hide that, we want to tackle that head on. It's not our intent to break encryption, but rather to inform the migration to quantum safe encryption. And in particular, what we've done in that spirit is this first ever demonstration with logical qubits, a technique for applying software for loss correction that elevates our logical qubits to being partly error corrected. And this was all done in our real hardware system with real noise, using our superstack compiler to efficiently implement this application. And while this is still a long way to go before cryptographically important quantum computing that breaks modern day standards, whether for protecting Bitcoin or emails, et cetera, it does raise the urgency of adoption of quantum safe encryption standards. And that's what we want to convey. So what this brings me back to is our roadmap. In 2024, we announced this roadmap on the screen for getting to quantum advantage. And indeed, in end of 2024, we were able to achieve what we forecasted, which was 2 logical qubits, 1,600 physical qubits, 99.73% gate performance. We had previously forecast hitting 10 logical qubits in year 2026, but now that we've already achieved 4 error-corrected logical qubits and 12 loss-corrected logical qubits, we are now updating our roadmap so that we've accelerated it to target 30 logical qubits in year 2026, and we're also extending our roadmap to targeting 1,000 logical qubit memories in year 2030. And on that note, to close, I will invite Matt back on stage to tell you about something upcoming.
Great work, Pranav. The last thing I'll just do is invite you all to our webinar next Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern time, and you can actually take a picture of that QR code, which will take you to the registration site. Pranav and his team will flush out in much more detail what he just spent the last 10 minutes talking about. And finally, one last call to action. If you do have any quantum dad jokes, please send them to matt@infleqtion.com so I have a little more material. All right, thank you everybody. Really appreciate your time. Take care.